All right, so this is part two of my is Floyd the greatest boxer? All right. Now, on part one, I ended off speaking about Diego Corrales, which in my opinion was his biggest win, his most impressive win, his most challenging win opponent, because this is a guy that a lot of people felt like Floyd couldn't beat. Much bigger fighter, an undefeated fighter. I feel like this was Floyd Mayweather's George Foreman to Muhammad Ali. And I say that because that was just his version. Even though George Foreman was a whole nother level on against, you really can't compare it. But if I had to compare Floyd's George Foreman fight, that was his. Okay, he knocked him down like 4 or 5 times. He destroyed Diego Corrales. Okay, his most impressive win. I mean, he even had rounds where I don't even think Diego Corrales landed. I haven't seen a fight in a while, but it was an amazing performance. Okay, now, like I said, I am not comparing Diego Corrales to the career of George Foreman. It's no comparison. Okay, but he's had his fights where he stepped up, and fought guys that I thought was tough throughout his career. You know what I'm saying? He fought legends, future Hall of Famers. He fought Marquez. And the thing about Floyd, it's the way that he beat the guys. It wasn't even close. Even the fights that he was in danger, like against Zab Judah. Zab Judah had him in danger early. Shane Mosley did hurt him, but he won the fights clearly. You know what I'm saying? Luis Castillo, you could bring up that fight. He rematched him and beat him clearly. Whether you think that was a gift or not. So, now I'm gonna bring up some fighters because, like, I see a lot of people all the time sit here and talk about who Floyd ducked and stuff. Because, I'm a Floyd fan, right? But he's made me upset throughout his career about who he fought, right? My boy USA MVP, you see me do videos with him. Me and him go a long way back. We was college roommates, and we used to argue over the phone all the time that about Floyd Mayweather. Now, we're both fans, but I used to feel like Floyd Mayweather was a cherry picker. I say all the time, like, Floyd always picking guys that's easy fights for him. Like, I used to say the same things that I hear on the internet, or I see, or any boxer, any person that watches boxing and dislikes Floyd is for the same reason. Man, he would defend Floyd or whatever. Now, I like Floyd. It's just that I just felt like, he picks easy fights or whatever. So I'm gonna just go through like the few people that I think Floyd should have fought, like that would have solidified his career a little better. I'm gonna start off with Shane Mosley, and this is not really his fault, but with Shane Mosley, at first I thought Floyd was ducking Shane, and then I found out, years ago now, but that Shane was the one that ducked him, because Floyd called him out and Shane didn't want the fight. I feel like Shane should have took that fight. He really should have took that fight. I think an undefeated Shane Mosley not would have only gave Floyd his toughest challenge, but I think he could have possibly beaten Floyd back then when they were both undefeated. I think Shane Mosley could have definitely beaten Floyd Mayweather. Okay? Of course, I don't know, exactly who I would pick. I mean, it would have been close, but I think Shane would have beat him. I'm being honest with you. I think Shea would have beat Floyd back then. You know, I think Paul Williams is another guy that was upset that, well, you know what, I'm trying to go in order. Vernon Forrest would have been definitely a tough match for Floyd. All right, Vernon Forrest, that would have been a challenging match for Floyd, but he wasn't really that popular, so you know, a lot of people probably overlooked that one. But Vernon Forrest, his style, I think would have been a tough fight for Floyd. Paul Williams, you know, Paul Williams, undefeated Paul Williams, like all these guys are undefeated. See, Floyd should have beat these guys before they already been exposed and a blueprint on how to beat these guys came out, because he clearly had the opportunity to do it. These people, the people think you'll lose to these guys. Why not fight them? You know, don't fight Baldemir and Guerrero. I mean, I know they're coming off of wins, but we already know the outcome of that. We know the outcome of that. You fighting Gotti. You fighting the guys that everybody exposed the blueprint on how to beat them. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you're speaking about Pacquiao, he's like, yeah, two guys already. Was it 2 or 3 losses? 2 guys already showing you how to beat Pacquiao. I never lost. Pacquiao has lost when they were still in the negotiations and they were still going back and forth about, you know, that fight years ago, like back in 2008, 2009. Yeah, people have shown. I mean, yeah, people have shown how to beat Pacquiao, but why aren't you fighting guys and showing people how to beat these other undefeated fighters? Now, you did it for Diego Corrales. You even did it for Canelo Alvarez. You did it for Ricky Hatton. All right? But there's a lot of other fighters that you did not fight that was, you know, you had plenty of opportunities to do it. You know? Why didn't you fight Paul Williams? You know? Now, the thing is, I think Floyd could have probably beat all of these guys that I'm naming. But you got to do it. You got to fight them while they're undefeated. It's too risky. See, Floyd is a businessman. So, it's a businessman. He's a businessman before a challenger. So, he's going to lose that O. He's going to risk losing that O on his record. That's going to make him a lot less money. People are not going to think he's the greatest or he's worth the money if he's losing. He's not going to he wouldn't have been as rich if he has lost a fight or a few. He wouldn't be as rich as he is today. They wouldn't have offered the same amount of money if he had lost. He's business minded. He's going to fight that people think is a challenge for him, or a decent enough challenge where he can still make the most amount of money. In my opinion, that's the way I view, like, the people that he chooses to fight, except for a couple times. I'm not gonna say all the time, I'll get to that later, but the way he picks his fights, like Maidana now, you knew he was picking Maidana. You know why? Because Maidana's a perfect example. Maidana beat the guy that fights similar to Floyd. Everybody was hyped about it. Adrian Broner lost. Everybody wanted him to lose. It was an upset. He knocked him down. He destroyed him. He's coming off with 2 other wins before that fight. And it just makes sense. You know what? Maidana got a lot of momentum right now. Let me jump in the ring. He's a champion now. Let me jump in the ring. Very predictable. You know? So going back to Paul Williams, why weren't you the first one to expose him before Carlos Quintana did, and Lara and Sergio Martinez and who else did Paul Williams fight? But anyway, yeah, why didn't you expose him before? Why weren't you the first to do it? You know, Miguel Cotto's another guy that I think undefeated Miguel Cotto would have gave him trouble. You know, and that's another thing. It's not just black fighters. You know, I see a lot of guys say it's black fighters. It's not just black fighters. You know, I think Miguel Cotto, what I gave him, Miguel Cotto coming off a win to Shane Mosley, what I gave Floyd some trouble. He gave Floyd some trouble a few years ago. And he doesn't fight nearly as good as he did back then when he was coming off of a win against Shane Mosley, you know, and still undefeated. You know what I'm saying? Those are guys that I felt like Floyd needed to have on his resume to make him the greatest. Like, you know, that's what I feel. That's just my opinion. Now, when I see people bring up, see, that let's get to the, like, now I'm going to get to the, like, the side where I'm going to give Floyd some more credit, you know, because I see there's a few things here. Now, when people, like I said earlier in the video, when people already have their mind made up and they don't like Floyd, they're going to throw some extra names in that list of fighters that Floyd, like, that's my list of fighters, and I'm not saying my list is better than anybody else's, but those are a list of guys that were undefeated at the time that were available. You know, you had that 1 year, I think, was it 2008, when Floyd didn't fight, or he did that retirement thing after Ricky Hatton. He went on that little retirement, and that's when things were kind of heating up in the welterweight division. You know, people question, you know, your integrity there, like, you know, and why you leaving right now, and then you come back out after a couple of these guys have losses now. You know what I'm saying? So it looks funny in the light a little bit, but whatever. But I feel like a lot of people that are biased, they only want to bash Floyd and not give him credit, or they want to throw some guys in the mix that he turned down, like Antonio Margarito. Let's be clear. Do you really feel like Antonio Margarito would have beat Floyd Mayweather? That would have been another cherry-picked fight. If Floyd fought Margarito, people would have been like, Margarito is so slow, so easy to beat. Floyd would have danced around after the fight is over. But because Floyd turned that fight down, it's because he was scared. Y'all really think Antonio Margarito would have beat Floyd, or even gave him a hard time in there? Come on, man. Like, when I hear that, I mean, like I said, it's all opinion based, but Antonio Margarito, come on, man. Look at all of the guys that he lost to. You know, what about his style do you think would have been too much for Floyd? You know, there's other guys that are way better than Antonio Margarito that Floyd did not fight. I mean, that's just one of the guys. But anyway. So, you know, I feel like people don't give him credit for the guys that he do beat. You know, it's like there's a lot of good fighters that he beat. Like, him beating Cotto when he did, and like I said already, I already said that I don't think Cotto was at his prime at that point. I think Cotto was a changed fighter ever since ever since he lost to Margarito. But you know, I just feel like he just wasn't the same no more. You know what I'm saying? And it was clear. But a lot of people, like, people don't give Floyd the credit for the guys that he do beat. You know, people want to make it seem like it was a cherry pick fight because Floyd beat them. You know, and I don't think that's fair. But I'm going to get back into that because this video's almost over. So watch part 3.